All right, let's start off with our Premier League predictions. We'll start off from 20 going up to first. I can drop a name pretty easily. Sheffield United will come rock bottom for me. They've lost their star striker to Marseille. I don't think they're equipped to win big games in the Premier League. And it's one of those kind of promotions where they obviously got promoted, fair play. Maybe they weren't expecting it.
Lost their loan players as well. Huge.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that the club are the most guaranteed to go down. And it feels like they're almost set up to go down. It feels like they're almost acquiescing to the fact that they're going to go down. They'll get the parachute payments and maybe they'll look to come back. But I think they're in such a bad place as a club. You know, if they didn't come up, they would be in real trouble now. So yeah, they're 20th.
20th for me is Luton. Right. I know they've got the home stadium, like their home stadium may, win them a few points and all those kind of things. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Derby type performance from them in the league. I genuinely wouldn't. Obviously, they're not equipped to be a Premier League club, are they? On or off the pitch, really.
But I think we underestimate the shock factor of some of these clubs coming up. Even Blackpool with Ian Holloway, I know they got relegated, but they were very close with Charlie Adam. I think the shock factor of Luton is more. I think Sheffield United don't offer any shock factor. I think Luton will. I think they'll beat a few big six sides in their stadium.
Yeah,
I think it's a massive
They're
shock.
a very robust throwback team, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a modern day crazy gang. So yeah, I think you're right. But what I think they're just going to lack is the ability to hit the
quality,
the points.
They haven't got quality.
Yeah. They haven't got the. Yeah, they haven't.
We went to that playoff final, man. It was stinky.
Yeah. But Huddersfield had no quality. Burnley, when they got promoted for the very first time, Bolton and all that. I mean, there's some sides that have been promoted without quality.
And look, maybe I'm, underplaying their manager a little bit, but Sean Dyche is a lot better manager than the Luton manager. You know what I mean? They have something different about them. I think Luton will accept just going down.
Do you have Luton in your relegation?
No. Not for me.
You think they survive? Okay.
No, I think that's. I think the
so 19th for me is Sheffield United for the same reasons.
And I'm Luton at 19th. So who's?
I'll do a new one then that we've not talked about. Wolves, as we're recording this.
They're your 19th.
Yeah, I think they'll get relegated. They're such a boring side. They've lost everyone from their squad. They've got a very thin squad, no experience. They lost Neves. That's a massive one for them. Jimenez as well, huge.
Matinho.
And he had no goals anyway, and they've still lost him. So if Gary O'Neill goes there and he keeps them up, and then he gets sacked again, I mean, he'll be the unluckiest guy in the world. I mean, he's a good manager.
Do you not think that the makeup of the club, do you not think that just the contacts of the club and the friends in high places, they'll just pull it out the bag?
But we've not seen that. They've not brought in anyone.
No, but do you not think that there's still a long way to go in the transfer window? Do you not expect to see arrivals?
If Lopetegui had a hint that they were going to be... Because we've seen some very good recruitment.
Good a manager there.
We've seen good recruitment from them in the past. And if he thought they were going to do that again, I doubt you see the cloud hanging over Wolves that you see at this moment in time. Yeah. There seems to be that cloud there. There seems to be, you've lost 3 key players. And I know Jimenez's goals are dried up, but he was an influential figure there. That midfield area, they sold Morgan Gibbs-White, who, if they lost Matinho and Neves now, and you got Morgan Gibbs-White coming through, you're like, all right, you got a very good midfielder there, but they also sold him. Like, they've lost leadership in, I know Conor Cody left a while ago, but he's already gone.
Yeah.
You're looking around, you're thinking, what is good at Wolves at the moment? Who can
nothing? They're the most boring side in the league.
Didn't they, to Brentford?
I just think they'll go down. Yeah. I've got them as 18th in my list. I think they'll be the 3rd team to go down. And if they replace Lopetegui with Gary O'Neill, I mean, I've still got them to go down.
Yeah, I haven't got Wolves in the relegation zone.
Really?
My 3rd team in the relegation zone, Everton.
Everton, you think it's finally D-Day?
I don't think that you can flirt and dance on that breadline as often as they have without at some point getting snared by it. I don't think that you can evade the capture of relegation consistently.
I won't reveal where I've got Everton, but I obviously haven't got them in the relegation zone. Do you not feel... Look, their signings have been worried. They've got Ashley Young and the young striker coming in, haven't they?
Dan Juma, is it?
There's another young striker as well they've signed. But don't you think Sean Dyche being there for a season, when you look at what he did in such a short period when he was there, one thing that they'll become is resolute at the back. They won't concede as many goals as they did in the early part of last season. And you'd expect them to get a few more points at home.
Letting Conor Cody go to Leicester City, I don't know if that was their decision. They didn't want to pay
I don't think that's a
money.
loss, though. He's a back 3 centre-back. And I don't think...
I don't know. He loved playing for that club, even though he's a Liverpool fan. But
I don't know. And what do you think about this? Nobody seems to ask this question. How good is Sean Dyche?
He's better than bottom 3.
Yeah, he's good enough to keep Everton up.
Did he do well when he was there last year?
No, but I think the club's in disarray.
Yes.
Did he?
Yes.
What's happening, everyone? This clip from the club is brought to you by Super 6. Now, we have some huge news for you. You could win £1 million this weekend. Simply download the Super 6 app. Make sure that you join our mini league. The code is Club23, and we really do need you to go over there. So please join. Now, usually when you play Super 6, you have the opportunity to win £250,000, but for 1 week only, they are going to make a millionaire potentially. The jackpot, if you get the 6 scores correct, is £1 million. That's right, £1 million. It's totally free to play, so make sure that you join our mini league. Code is Club23. Just a quick reminder, if you joined our league last year, that is no longer in existence, so we need you to rejoin. And remember, you have a free shot. This is totally free to play, a free shot at £1 million. Simply follow the link in the description and sign up now.
This is an Everton side without a striker. Calvert-Lewin was very rarely fit. Very few goals. I think he went in there, he turned Iwobi was a player for them last season. I didn't expect to see that. You look at the likes of, is it Onana and Idrissa Gana Gueye in the midfield?
Good midfield.
I think he got a trick out of them, and I think they're two very talented
When you say
players.
he got a trick out of them, I mean, they didn't accrue many points. They got that victory against Arsenal, which was basically...
The Brighton win was a huge one.
Yeah, they got the big win against Brighton, big win against Arsenal. But ultimately, the reason that they stayed up last year was the inability of the teams down there to put any sort of results together. But it's not like Everton pulled away. It's not like Everton put a string of results together.
But we've talked about Sheffield United coming up. Luton is a fair shout. They could get relegated. Wolves are losing everyone.
All Everton have to do is stay above Wolves.
Exactly.
Stay above
That's why I think
Wolves.
they'll just about do it. Exactly.
So who have you got just surviving?
West Ham.
That low?
I think the Declan Rice factor is going to be massive. And look, you could talk about Scott McTominay going in and replacing Declan Rice. Sorry, he does not replace Declan Rice. I've seen so many years of Scott McTominay, and there was a few good moments, but generally, he does the opposite to what Declan Rice does. What Declan Rice does great, shows for the ball consistently, always when he gets on it, confident, breaks up play, does all these different things, even gets forward and can be a number 8. Scott McTominay, he get you an odd goal in the opposition's box, getting forward. But the rest of his players of footballing ability isn't there for me. I think West Ham as well, I think you were right. You got ridiculed for it when you said it. They could have sacked Moyes last season. And I think you were right.
Stand by it.
That Conference League trophy has papered over the cracks of their league season. You take Declan Rice out now.
Do you know last year?
They're going to struggle, boy. David Moyes won't be there at the end of the season.
They lost 20 games last season. In the Premier League, they lost 20 games in the Premier League season.
That's more than 50%.
Like when you're the manager of any Premier League team, you know what the first rule is. The first target for every manager, with the exception of the obvious, 40 points. Do you know what they finished the season on? 40 points. He did the bare minimum.
Now take Declan Rice out.
Take Declan Rice out, and look. I honestly think what they did in Europe is historic, and they deserve full credit for that. But let's say Jared Bowen hits that shot and it hits a bar, goes over, they lose. He's sacked now. 6 weeks before that game in Prague, Fulham away, West Ham fans in the away end at Craven Cottage, Moyes out banner. Their gripe, the reason that those fans had that banner, it hasn't gone away just because you've won a trophy.
You're right.
Your football fans are
Where
fickle.
are West Ham for you? No, sorry, who is just outside of the relegation?
Forest.
Oh, Forest.
I've got Forest just surviving.
See, I think because of the stability of Cooper, he should be
good manager. I think, by the way, that's a really good season for them. I've got Forest and Bournemouth just surviving the pair.
Yeah, I've got Bournemouth just above West Ham in 7. Who was in yours?
I've got Bournemouth to be relegated, and I pray they get relegated.
That's your last
I know
team
they've
getting
gone for this kind of young manager from Spain, fair play. They're trying something a little bit different, a bit football manager. They completely disregarded Gary O'Neill like he wasn't a human being, and I hope they get relegated. They're a little town. They shouldn't be a Premier League club, just like Wolves.
Think about the £1 parking though, Booth.
£1 parking. What, in
So
Bournemouth?
good. Yeah, it's so good.
Good luck
Right
getting a
outside
ticket
the
for the game,
stadium. Right outside the stadium. Perfect.
Well, the train's
parking.
down there about 4 hours, and
Good
that's
luck
just the
getting a ticket,
national
mate. It's
railway.
It's an
in this
away end
country.
that holds about 900.
So round
It's
up
not
your
a Premier
bottom
League
three,
side.
Boothie, because
Bournemouth, Wolves, and Sheffield United, and I pray all of them get relegated.
Bournemouth, I've gone Luton bottom, Sheffield United, Wolves, West Ham just outside.
Everton, followed by Luton, followed by Sheffield United.
And
Easy.
who was just outside?
Just outside.
Nottingham Forest.
Just outside, you've got Forest and Bournemouth.
I've
There's
got
nothing
Bournemouth
between.
just ahead of West Ham because of the same reasons. But I do think the investment that they've got. I'll also be honest with you, I don't know a whole host about their new manager, so I'm kind of working with an unknown there. But you did see a lot of good things about them, under Gary O'Neill towards the back end, and you'd hope.
And then they sacked him.
That would keep them up.
Everton are, for me, just about good enough to stay in the league. But I agree with Rory. If you kind of flirt with relegation every season, it is worrying.
Yeah, whether it happens this year, next year, or the year after, if they keep dancing on that dotted line, they're gone.
But Calvert-Lewin, Pickford, the midfield, Decore and all that is a spine that the other three don't have, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yes,
I would agree.
In 15th, I've got Vincent Kompany's Burnley, but I don't think they will be in trouble of relegation at all throughout the season. I genuinely think there's something about Kompany, which I hate to say, I don't like him for his City links and all that. But when you read things about him, you hear things about him. Gary Neville was lauding him and his work ethic and all those kind of things. You just think he's got something about him to be one of the next managers coming through.
Yeah, he's a very intelligent, clearly a man lacking in ego, a man ready to take the plunge into the Championship and then take on the challenge of, he hasn't gone to a glamorous team in the Championship. He's gone to a Burnley team who are renowned for their dogged approach. Turf Moor, a difficult place to go. So I'm full of admiration for Vincent Kompany. His devotion to football, his work ethic that you touched on. It's going to be very interesting. And I believe, look, the kindest thing you can say about Vincent Kompany is none of us have put them in the relegation zone.
No, I put them way higher as well. I think they'll completely shock people.
So who's in 15th for you guys?
I've got Wolves.
Wolves in 15th.
I've put Luton in 15th. I think that shock factor. Yeah, just above Fulham as well. We didn't cover that, but I think Fulham will be hard without Mitrovic.
So you didn't tell us your 16th because...
No, we skimmed over that. I
said Bournemouth with my 16th.
Bournemouth my 16th.
Yeah, Fulham mine, I think without Mitrovic, there's obviously that kind of rumour of Marco Silva still maybe leave, and we saw him leave Watford really quickly for Everton. He could still leave. I think if a club above Fulham sat their manager, imagine if West Ham sat Moyes, they'd be going for Marco Silva every day, that kind of thing.
Mate, also the Saudi project seems to be very favourable of Fulham. Like, did you see Willian signed a new contract and he was really happy with the new contract, and suddenly he's seen the numbers going on over in Saudi and he's like, "Hold tight, wait, I didn't sign that. I don't count." So no, I think
you reckon he had a 14-day cooling off period on his contract?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like buying a new phone. No, I think Fulham will be safe, but there is an attachment to this. I've got them a lot higher. I'm not talking about them yet.
I've got Fulham really high.
But I've got Fulham higher.
I'm worried now.
But it's a prerequisite that they keep Marco Silva. They lose Marco Silva and I think then their backs to the wall.
Yeah, Mitrovic is a big one. Massive miss.
Mitrovic is a huge one. But I think they can just about survive that. The crucial one for me is the manager.
But Mitrovic leaving as well, everything very much went through him, didn't it? Like, get it out to Willian and the lads and then get it into the box. Once a team, and I think Marco Silva will have the ability to coach the team to a different level. Once that figurehead goes and now everybody else is expected to chip in, you'll see some players probably step up into that.
Who are they? Because I'm worried for them. I think Willian's getting a year older. He's in his 30s, past his prime. I don't see goals on that side. That's the big worry for me.
To be fair, Mitrovic is like in the bottom half. He's probably up there with your best strikers.
He's right up there.
He's going to be a massive
where are
miss.
Fulham without Mitrovic's goals in the first 20 games of the season? Before that kind of weird sending off and all that, they might be in a relegation battle last season without those kind of. He scored so many goals, didn't he, in the first third of the season?
He's a fantastic player. I mean, I think that he would. I think he'd actually lend himself to teams far higher in the Premier League. I think he could play for a team in the top 6, top 8. So I think he's a great player, and I think they're going to struggle to replace him. But for me, the priority for Fulham is to keep the manager in his position.
Who did you have in 15th? Sorry, Booth?
Luton for me, and I do think the shock factor will just keep them above.
Mental, innit?
I think plateauing in the Premier League is bigger than we talk about. I know Wolves are a much bigger club. I get it. They're a Premier League experience. But plateauing in the Premier League is underrated. I think these guys will completely self-destruct Wolves. I think Everton could get closer. Luton have got so much energy, physicality, youth. And Rob Edwards is such an exciting young manager. So I think it's a tough place to go, that Luton Stadium.
I've gone 14th, Nottingham Forest. I think they may get dragged into it a little bit and all those kind of things, but I think they'll be better off for the experience of last season. I think Morgan Gibbs-White was coming into his own towards the back end of the season. They've got to keep a hold of Brennan Johnson. I think he's been linked with a move to Everton. If he stays, they keep some of them goals in their team. Awoniyi looked like a threat as well. They've added Elanga, who I don't think was ever good enough for Manchester United, but in terms of bottom half...
How do you think he'll do that?
I think he'll get 5 goals, 5 assists. Something like that. And that's probably good enough.
What do you think his ceiling is, Elanga? Do you think he's a guaranteed Premier League player? Is he good enough to play in the Premier League?
I think he's a Premier League player, but I don't think he's a European.
Right. Yeah, I know what you mean.
He'll play for Sweden, but
no, I know
one of those
team
top
playing
6 teams.
Yeah. Country,
I don't think he's one of them.
Competing for the European spots. He's not that.
But I do think Forest will be all right this season.
I've gone 4. I've got West Ham next, followed by West Ham, Burnley, Brentford is my. So I think Burnley are going to have a very good season. I think Brentford will do what they do and sort of end up.
Do they get sucked in it without Ivan Toney for 6 months? I mean, it's crazy how long he's out.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because every time there's a reason to think that they're in trouble. So, for example, they lose their ground. Like Griffin Park was huge for who they are. They lose their ground. How are they going to cope without it? Actually, fine. Christian Eriksen, they lose Christian Eriksen. How on earth are they going to cope without Christian Eriksen? Actually, fine. They lost Ivan Toney. How on earth are they going to... Like, history kind of teaches us that through very shrewd management and very good owners, they managed to weather storms. And I think it's fair to assume that they will be able to survive. And again, it's Brentford. Survival is success. I think they will be able to survive. So I've got them round about mid-table.
What if Thomas Frank leaves? I mean, he's another manager.
Well, then we reassess.
Yeah.
Thomas Frank leaves. Then we.
So he was linked to Spurs before Postecoglou.
Can you just say who was 14th for you?
West Ham.
West Ham in 14th for you, Buvey?
Forest 14th.
Okay. 13th for me, I've got Everton. I think Sean
Everton?
Yeah, 13th.
Here now.
That's high, isn't it?
Sean Dyche.
Any money, they don't finish above 13th.
That's very high.
We're going to be doing some little, bets on that.
Bets,
so we'll sort them out later. But I've got 13th Everton. My mate Baz will be buzzing with that. Who's in 13th for you?
Brentford, for me, I think Thomas Frank will stay. I think maybe next season's the season for Brentford where they'll have to reassess if he leaves for a bigger club, because I think people start sniffing around him, a bit like Graham Potter at Brighton. I think there's more than enough quality there to stay in the league.
So I've gone Burnley, Brentford, Fulham, Palace.
12th I've got Brentford, 11th I've got Palace, 10th I've got Fulham. Again, I think Fulham should be okay with Marco Silva, but like you say, if a sacking happens elsewhere, he goes somewhere, certain things move like that, maybe Fulham then drop down and they're involved in that relegation.
The surprise package in terms of, the team that ends up going down or ends up nearly going down that you never anticipated. If you were to say like a wild card for relegation, you potentially go sort of Fulham.
It's because you get lured into that false sense of security of last season that we're never involved.
Yes.
So you're kind of like, they won't be involved again.
And also, so much of what happened last season all looks in threat now.
Yeah.
Like all of the manager, the centre forward, and Willian, who was like a jewel in the crown that nobody expected. There's suddenly talk about all three of them leaving. And if that were to happen, I don't really see how...
I think we overrate Willian as well. He had a good season.
Very good season, mate.
But then he's getting older. He was in Brazil for a reason. Let's be completely real. So I think it was a one-season wonder for Fulham.
He's too old for Chelsea,
and Arsenal,
but he's not too old for Fulham. There's a big difference. It's like Ashley Young will probably be great for Everton.
He wasn't even starting
they're fighting a relegation
all the time. He wasn't starting.
No, but he was playing.
But that's because he's old.
I think we completely overrate Willian. I think they could go down. Actually, the more we talk about it, I think we could get relegated. I've gone West Ham. I think you lads absolutely slag off David Moyes far too much. If he gets the sign, I don't think he's been backed by the owners well enough. They should have signed Harry Maguire yesterday for 50 million quid, and they should be going for Scott McTominay for 35-40. That kind of backing.
You're telling me they should give us 80-90 million for them to... Yeah. West Ham, please do what he just said.
40 million
Please,
each.
I beg you, bro. We could go buy Harry Kane if you do that.
Yeah, but come on. Inflation in today's market. Scott McTominay's a proper international footballer. He's played European football for Man United.
Scott McTominay is not worth 40 million quid with 30 million in his pocket.
Unfortunately, he is. A Premier League midfielder with as much experience as Scott McTominay is worth that. And Harry Maguire's got the English tax, so he's another 40 million quid. He's a good centre-half.
Yeah, West Ham should do our negotiations,
but West Ham need these players more than we need to negotiate £5 million margins. McTominay would play 38 games next season, be reliable on the ball, he'd be defensive.
Do you know what, though,
Get this on a screen at Upton Park.
Buvey, you're talking about players that they should sign, but players that they haven't signed, and yet you're putting them very high up the league, as if they've signed.
So I think they'll get them. I think they'll realise in what mire they're in. I think David Moyes has been underappreciated by the owners. I think if he says, I want Harry Maguire, they should be absolutely going out and getting him. At the moment, it's a bit precarious without Declan Rice.
His European run saved him last season.
Yeah, but that's how.
And it's a Conference League, bro. West Ham are supposed to win the Conference.
No, that's not.
Yeah, like Villa are supposed to win it this year.
It's not. They're never won the Europa League.
We can't denigrate a success. Success change. Okay, last season it's a.
So where did you have them? 10th.
Yeah, West Ham 11th. I think they're far better than we give them credit for. If he gets backed, I think they'll be fine. Palace come 10th for me. Roy Hodgson's a massive factor. He's one of the best managers in the league in terms of his experience. He knows exactly what he's doing with Palace. Yes, they've lost Zaha, but if Elise stays, he's more than good enough to keep them in the league.
Yeah, I had Palace 11th, so we're kind of on the same
Palace
page.
10th for me. Palace 10th, which actually with a little bit of hindsight and debating it with you boys, feels high, man.
Are we overestimating them, man? Because they're losing Zaha as well.
We are overestimating.
But I did feel like they kind of prepared for a life without Zaha last season when they had all those different threats. Now, look, if Elise ends up going to City or something late in the window, my opinion on Palace may change.
Lads, we've got Palace. I've got Palace 10th.
I've got him 11th.
That feels... Hang on a minute.
But then Brentford ain't going to... Tony... Palace...
Like Roy Hodgson.
Are we overestimating Roy Hodgson?
I think they stay up, don't get me wrong, but 10th feels very generous.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm talking about myself here. Where have you got them?
I've got them in 10th as well.
Yeah, I have them 11th. So we're very close to being the same. But Palace fans, let us know what you guys think. You like obviously see everything going on at your club. I just think they've got a lot of young, vibrant talents. And Roy Hodgson showed a different side to him where they were scoring a lot of goals. And I think that kind of replaces Zaha in itself. Like they weren't reliant on Zaha last season, I don't think. And I think therefore they should be okay this season. Anyway, in at 9, I've got Brighton. And in at 8, I've got Newcastle. I think Newcastle are going to drop out of the Champions League spots. I think they'll potentially miss out on Europa League football as well. I think pressure will get cranked up there. I don't think the business that they've done is particularly good. I don't think it's going to set them up well for the Champions League. And I think you look at that team that they've got, there's still a lot of the players.
Tonali's not good enough.
He may be, but it's not enough. And I think they punched above their weight last season. You had Chelsea that were underperforming. You had Spurs underperforming. All these different teams. It was kind of like a perfect storm for them. Aston Villa are going to be better this year. I think Newcastle drop out of there. There's going to be pressure on Eddie Howe and he's going to get cranked up. The owners there are going to expect Champions League football every season now. That's not happening.
They've shown a lot of patience though. They have shown a lot of patience.
I think Eddie Howe's a star manager. Brighton.
Yeah.
I go Brighton here and then followed by Tottenham.
Yeah, I go Brighton 9th as well. I think the standard that De Zerbi's set is unbelievable. I think all the big clubs around Europe will be looking at him in the long term.
That's one of the reasons why I think Europa League football will impact Brighton and their ability to do well again on that Sunday following Europa League football. I also think De Zerbi will take it seriously. Strikes me as a manager that will go, I want to win this. And I can win it.
And he can.
And therefore, but I'm really excited to see Evan Ferguson this season as well. Young Irish lad, I think he'll score a lot of goals. It's just whether that Europa League has a knock-on effect. And like you said, you can see someone like Barca needing a manager during the season and going, you know what, I'll take De Zerbi.
Any big club. Big club.
I think De Zerbi is certainly one more excellent season away from that kind of link. I think he's...
I'd take him at City. Honestly, I'd take him at City if we had
Please
to.
do. Get rid of Pep.
Now and then I've gone Tottenham.
Yeah, I've gone Tottenham. I think Ange Postecoglou's shocking for me.
You've gone 8th, Tottenham.
I've gone 8th, Tottenham.
Yeah, no, I agree with Roy. I think if Harry Kane leaves, I think the Bayern Munich interest is real. It's getting bigger day by day. If he leaves, they're screwed. Richarlison last season was absolutely woeful. I think if he's leading the line with Son's form dipping again, if it was to dip next season, they're in a world of pain. I can't wait.
I've got Spurs in 7th, just above Newcastle. And the reason I say that is I know we're looking at last season and going, Richarlison was poor, Son was poor, this, that and the other. I do think Ange Postecoglou's style of play will bring more out of those players. Whether it's enough to get them in the top 4, I don't think so.
You've seen their defence.
But I also, they need to make a few signings.
What's their back four these days?
I do think Spurs and their stadium will be a much happier place this season, just because the football is going to be better.
Yes, but it doesn't mean that the results come.
The stadium's not popping if you're losing 4-3 and you score a load of goals.
Europa League, maybe?
They're the kind of side that will lose 4-3 to Luton.
The other thing
it's
is...
just an end-to-end game.
But they're also the kind of side that will beat City twice.
Yeah, they do that, and that's their biggest achievement every season. But I think they'll really... I think Kane will go, and I think they'll really, really struggle.
I wouldn't be surprised if Kane's still there.
Their back four is shocking.
If Kane stays then, because Kane's still there at the moment, where do you think they finish? Because that's a big difference.
I think they're a worse squad without, but behind Villa, Chelsea, Newcastle, I think they're far worse.
Even
than all them
with
lads.
Kane?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
No, I think you're being unfair on Postecoglou.
I think
But you agree with
No,
it?
I agree. I think that they haven't done the work that needed to be done in the transfer window. I think signing James Maddison is a good player, but I think they need so much more. I think in terms of the positions that they needed to replenish, they haven't prioritised the areas that they were desperate to. And like Postecoglou, look, he could come good. He could. But what are we basing that he will come good on? The fact that he won the league in Scotland.
When I say come good, I just think
Took Australia to the World Cup.
I think Spurs will just be a
Steven
happier
Gerrard
place.
won the league in Scotland.
No. I think modern football is a game about managers. I think, look at Frank De Zerbi, Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, what he's done with a limited budget, Arteta. Modern football is about the manager's approach, the system, and if it bangs, you get Brighton in Europe.
And
Ange Postecoglou is not one of those managers.
That manager's approach is being massively hampered by this debate around Harry Kane.
True.
Like the Tottenham job that he's currently preparing for, the season that he's currently preparing for, on the final day of this window, could be blown to smithereens. All of a sudden, Harry Kane is no longer there. You're like, hang on a minute, wait, what? Our whole pre-season is with this geezer. Like, how can you possibly tell me he's not there now?
I just think as well, one of the things is, I think Postecoglou will come in with positivity, purely positively, firstly and foremost. That's what he's going to be in terms of his football, the way he is in press conferences, the way he'll be with his players. I think he'll be all positive. And I think because of the managers that you've had at Spurs, you know, like you've had Mourinho, Conte, who kind of grind the fans down and get you a little bit depressed, a little bit just, like Flav was saying, does Conte hate us all the time? Like, he doesn't know where he stands with him. I think the fans will know where they stand with Postecoglou, and I think he'll be a good representative of him. And therefore, I think, like, just the knock-on effect of Spurs is a happier place now. You know, when Arteta first went in, all right, they finished 8th.
Yeah.
But everything was suddenly, he was just happier to be there. And I think the fans will give him time because of what has happened previously.
Yeah, I mean, all of that's true. I just don't see how it correlates to points.
But I've only put him 7th.
7th is quite high, you know?
No European football.
It means you only think there's 6 teams in
Have
the
they
league
got
better than
European
Tottenham. No, they're not in Europe.
See, that helps massively as well. That helps.
I don't think it's relevant. Like, they're never going to win in Europe. They're never going to go deep.
No, but it helps.
I just don't
their
get it,
league
bro.
season.
I think also James Maddison, when the chips are down, you don't want Maddison in your squad.
I disagree.
If they
with
lose,
that.
if the chip, he
disagree
literally
with
got
that.
relegated with Leicester City.
No.
He's a
Leicester
luxury
City got
player.
relegated despite his incredible form. His form of the last 12 months was unreal.
He's the
And
kind
for
of guy
a team that
heads
got
down,
relegated.
heads down when you lose.
No, that's unfair, bro. I
it is.
really think that's unfair.
He's a luxury player.
And I think if he goes into that team and Kane's still there, you're suddenly looking at possibly one of the best little partnerships in the league. Because Kane's already one of the best strikers in the league. And Maddison's one of the most creative players in the league. All of a sudden, boom.
It won't matter, though, because the ball will be in their own net.
Their back four's shocking.
That is a
They've got no lead. Who's the goalie these days?
It just won't matter.
Forster.
Brad Friedel, I think.
And do you know the other thing? It's all about this expansive football that Ange Postecoglou is going to play, and it's so in keeping with the traditions of Tottenham. Right, okay, that's great. But if you go out there, as Tottenham are seeming to do, and they want to play this really out there open game, they'll get beat. You know, West Ham beat them 4-3 on pre-season. That could actually be indicative of who they are in the league. 4-3.
They're going to be end to end.
Yeah, you know, and their fans will give them this like real standing ovation because they're playing so well and it's really got good and
Well, and their
traditional.
beers fill from the bottom as well. It's
Their
amazing.
beer is filmed from the
Fantastic
bottom,
Spurs.
exactly. But overall, I just don't really see how Tottenham fans
where did you
can
have
be feeling
Spurs then?
positive.
8th.
Yeah, 8th as well.
So who's in 7th for you?
I've got Villa.
I've got Newcastle 7th.
Okay.
So higher than you, lower than you.
Yeah.
You got Spurs 8th, Newcastle 7th. I've
Yeah.
got other way around, Newcastle 8th, Spurs 7th.
I think Newcastle are going to have a very good season. Don't get me wrong. I just think that the arduous nature of European football for the first time for this club for a long time and a lot of the individuals and the manager, I think it's going to take its toll on their domestic form and they will just drop a touch. I'm not saying they won't have a good year. I think they will. I think they're going to be an impressive club for years to come. But I don't think that they're going to be able to scale the heights that they did last year.
They've not had that window where, you know, when City signed Yaya Toure, we signed David Silva.
That's coming.
It isn't because
It's
of
coming when Eddie
financial
Howe's
pressure.
gone.
They've signed Tonali. That's a one-off. I'm not seeing 3, 4, 5 world-class players coming in. Financially, we know they can do it. They're limited by kind of the rules of it.
A lot of the signings that they've made would have been in keeping with the club pre-takeover.
I think you'll see a bit more from Isaac this season,
he's
which I
great.
think they'll be very
Unbelievable.
excited about. In 6th, I've got Aston Villa.
So have I.
And in 5th, I've got Chelsea.
So have I.
Why do you think Chelsea will finish 5th?
Well, I think Chelsea will finish 5th. Do you know what? Earlier in the window, about a month ago, I was convinced that Aston Villa were going to make the European Cup. I just thought that they were doing such impressive business.
As in the Champions League?
Yeah. I thought they were going to make top 5, assuming that it is 5. I thought that Aston Villa were going to do it because a month ago, they looked great. They were making some brilliant signings and Chelsea were standing still. Chelsea since then have really kicked on.
You're coming round to Poch, aren't you?
I'm coming round to Chelsea at the moment. Yeah.
No, but you are. Look,
I like him.
I'm glad you like him because he's the manager, and I hope this is representative of the support within Chelsea. Well, I don't hope because I don't want Chelsea to be a success, but for Poch's sake, I hope that's what's happening within the stands and that's what's happening amongst your support. Because if you support this guy and don't give him the Rafa Benitez treatment, I know it's not as vitriolic between you as it was with Rafa, and he said some things that you could never forgive him for, but if you stick by Poch, even when it has a little bit of a rock, I think he's the guy for you, man.
Mate,
and he could be there for 3 or 4 or 5 seasons.
He has managed to do the impossible at Chelsea. I think what he's managed to do since he's come into the club is do everything correctly. The way that he's spoken, the way that he's spoken about the club, the way that he's given Tottenham a little dig, the way that he's so happy to be there, the way that he carries himself, the way that he dresses, just everything is managerial. Everything is proper. And you know how much I love Frank Lampard, but it's not comparable. And you know how much I dislike Graham Potter, and it's really not comparable. What we had in Graham Potter, he felt timid. He
felt lucky to be there.
He didn't own it. Mauricio Pochettino, on his first press conference, he's wearing a whistle. He looks incredibly dapper and he's managerial. And I think Chelsea,
and he's having a dig at Spurs.
And he had a but also, like, what's very impressive about Pochettino is, this young team that Chelsea now have. We're a young, exciting, dynamic, aggressive, and crucially fit team. That's all of those words aren't applicable to anything that you saw at Chelsea last year. There was none of that. And look, we're so young. As a team, we're so young. So I'm hoping that we can take a leaf out of Arsenal's book last year. Remember, they were the youngest team in the league last year. And that has to be Chelsea now. And they did incredibly well. So let's sort of get behind them. There's no pressure. I love these young players, players.
Keeping Colwell was important.
Colwell's very important. Like Ian Maatsen, I think...
I don't know much about him. Who is he?
Well, he was
what does he do?
He was at Burnley last year. He was in the Championship Team of the Year. Well, this is very interesting, right? And this is, again, due to the brilliance of Pochettino. I think what he was seen as was a left-back. But you know how fullbacks now, they're not... You know how Lee Dixon was a fullback, or Gary Neville was a fullback, or Nigel Winterburn was a fullback? Joao Cancelo ain't. You know how it's kind of changed. Lewis Hall is another one that I think was once a fullback and he's not. Ian Maatsen is a bit like that. And for Pochettino on this 4-2-3-1 that he plays at Chelsea, Maatsen has played as a left winger, as a number 10, and on the right, they played everywhere. And I think that when we went into this pre-season, Lewis Hall was the player and Maatsen would go out on loan, maybe even back to Burnley and Vincent Kompany. Maatsen has he's made himself indispensable to the team. You know all these young players that are doing that? Like, I'm heartbroken because I think that Nkunku's picked up an injury, like a significant one, which is a disaster. But Jackson, Nkunku, Maatsen, Mudryk, it's looking really lively. And I'm not talking about competing with them and Arsenal and you even. I'm not talking about that. But there's a team
finishing above
full of desire,
all the rest is possible.
Being better than Villa, being better than Tottenham, being better than anyone that isn't you lot and Liverpool. I think is possible for this Pochettino team. Why?
Where have you got? Who have you got in 6th? Sorry, Buvey.
I've got Chelsea as well.
6th.
In 6th. Who's in 5th?
I've got Villa 6th.
Newcastle for me.
So where was Villa for you? 7th.
Just below Chelsea.
Okay.
I think Nkunku's a big injury though. He's out till I think January. So he looked really good in pre-season, didn't he? I think if they're out with him for so long without replacing him, I think Jackson could struggle up front next season.
Have you said Chelsea yet, mate? Where have you
I've not said Chelsea.
You've not said Chelsea yet?
No, I said,
so we're still
Spurs,
waiting to
Villa,
hear.
Chelsea.
Oh, Chelsea in what position?
6th.
Ah, damn. Okay, I thought you had us in the top 5. Okay, so I just think that Chelsea are going to manage to get above Villa. And
yeah, I have Villa in 6th, and the reason I think that Emery, incredible full season there. I think when you look at his stats and everything last season, I think the likes of Jacob Ramsey will improve under him. The signings that they've made, although I said Maddison is a better signing than Tielemans, I agree with that. Tielemans still a very, very good signing. And I think Aston Villa could be one of those teams that take a lot of points of those teams above them. And that just... The only concern would be they will take the Conference League very seriously.
Yeah. They'll win.
So does that...
But mate, think about the manager. It doesn't matter how seriously they take it. He'll win that with his slippers.
Yeah.
He'll have a cigar on the touchline. He wins the other one all the time. This one's going to be like a friendly tournament. He'll just win it.
Yeah. So yeah, I had Villa in 6th, Chelsea in 5th. Let's round it up before we get to our top 4s in case anyone's missed anyone.
That is it. Now we're in the top 4, aren't we?
I think we're in the top 4 now. I've put Man United in 4th. The amount of money he spent, I think it's just the amount of value in that squad. They can't not come 4th at a very minimum. And if they don't come 4th and they come below that, I think obviously it's an embarrassment. I think they'll come 4th.
I've got Arsenal in 4th.
Really?
Wow.
I like when we were doing the thing with Gary Neville and that, and he was talking about Havertz being an amazing signing and all this. I was genuinely lost because one, I've said this before on the channel, that I think Havertz will be better suited to Arsenal. So it's not that I don't think he's not suited to Arsenal or anything like that. But you've made him one of your top earners. You've spent a lot of money on him. He's coming in without an actual fixed position. Now, some people may say that's good because, you know, he can play in any of those positions and it suddenly makes your squad a whole lot better. But he doesn't take Odegaard out of that team. If he's now part of your midfield three and part he isn't on a regular basis, your midfield three is now weaker. And whilst he may score a few more goals than, you know, Xhaka, I think your midfield's got weaker and therefore that could become an issue with Havertz. If he gets stuck on the bench, then it's becoming a big talking point. Oh, you've spent all this money on him. You're giving him all this wages. I just don't think that Havertz transfer is as good as other people are making out. I think Timber's a very good signing, and I think Declan Rice is a very good signing.
You've got Chelsea and Arsenal in touching distance. You've got Chelsea and Arsenal in touching distance in the Premier League table. That is an
Arsenal whole different level.
I think Arsenal will. No. But
a whole different level.
I don't think
you're
Chelsea
the only person.
I don't think Chelsea will ever be above Arsenal at any point in the season.
They touch in the league in your league table.
That's fine.
Yeah, no.
United and Arsenal touched last season, but it doesn't mean we ever had a chance of really finishing above them.
I don't think. And look, mate, I find it interesting.
This is the season of pressure there's been no pressure on Arteta for this whole time. He was allowed to finish 8th back to back, and it was fine. He was allowed to finish 5th, and it was fine.
I would take.
He was allowed to bottle the league, and it was fine.
Is a big drop off. It's not like they've just signed Havertz. Rice is huge.
Bro, some of these players have never played in the Champions League. You've now got to deal with that.
Yeah, but they're a year older. They're a young squad. Even Saliba coming back, he looks incredible. If they get Ray as well.
The reason why Buvey is correct to say that 2nd to 4th is a huge drop off, it is because it means it's a difference between being involved in a title race and challenging top 4.
Liverpool are going to be better next season. United will be better, and Chelsea will be better.
I'm not aggressively arguing with you here. I'm just exploring the point.
No.
I just think to go from challenging Manchester City all the way to effectively not being in a title race is what you're saying. 4th means you're not in a title race.
I don't think there's really going to be a title race next season.
You think City run away?
I think City will drop off and still win it. I think other teams around Arsenal will get better. And I think the pressure's going to get cranked up there.
Such a better side than United. I'm not just trying to wind you up. I think they're a debate with Liverpool.
I'd have our midfield. We've got Rice, Havertz, Odegaard ain't better than Casemiro, Bruno, and Mount.
I take Arsenal's midfield all day long.
Havertz in any midfield.
I don't include Havertz. I say Odegaard, Rice, and Partey.
They want rid of Partey.
He's still there. He's still there. As we're recording, they got a more powerful midfield. They play far better football than you. They finished above you last season. They got goals in Jesus. They
finished one position above us last season.
They got a great centre half. They got two.
And didn't win a trophy.
No, they got a great centre half. And Raya, if he comes in, is a fantastic keeper.
So Ramsdale, who was the best keeper in the league, is suddenly now being replaced. This is what Arsenal do.
I
know he didn't. But this is what Arsenal do all the time. They lure you into, Ramsdale's amazing. Why are you replacing him then? Well, look, Partey's amazing. So why do you want to get rid of him?
I've made comments about Arsenal. They spent a lot of money. They spent 300 million quid in the last 2 transfer windows. And they're going to spend 250 million quid this summer. So they have to do well. But from top to toe, they play better football than Man United. I think Man United's season last season was completely overrated. They got an overrated season last season.
That's true.
And they're going to crumble.
So I've got Manchester United in 4th as well, which I think, by the way,
I think that's
a good, to consecutive back-to-back Champions League finishes. If you can juxtapose it with some silverware, maybe a good run in the Champions League, some more domestic silverware, I think that would be like
they've spent 400 million quid on a Ten Hag.
I know, but we can say that about every club.
You can't.
Do you know what?
Arteta spent about 800 million.
But they finished above you last season.
You know when you say
one season.
When you say
I'm saying this is a project.
It was Ten Hag's first season. It was Arteta's third. Within
the short time frame of both managers being there, relatively, Ten Hag spent 400 million quid. He's got a brand new striker. He's got Rashford on a brand new contract.
You're making a point that applies to Arteta, so it's just stupid.
Yeah, and that point is
just
fair
stupid.
because they
Arteta spent more in his first.
You got smashed 7-0.
Hold
The
on.
worst
What are you
loss
going
in your
to say?
Premier League
Arteta
history.
competed in his third
He
season.
competed with Man
mug.
City
in his
for the
third
league.
season.
Yeah. He's a couple
This
of
is Ten
years.
Hag's second season.
And he spent 400 million quid. And my point is, my only point is, I'm not saying, but I think it's fair for me to say that a club as big as Man United coming back-to-back top 4 finishes is vague. I don't think it's very successful. It's not very ambitious.
It's not going to happen. We're going to finish above 4th.
Yeah, in your opinion. But me and Rory think you're going to come
Ten
4th.
Hag's a better manager
I
than
said 4th.
everyone but Pep and Klopp.
He's not. He's not. He's not.
He is.
He's not better
Your
than
worst
better
ever
than
Premier
all
League
of them.
Not better
victory,
than
your
everyone.
worst ever Premier League loss was under him. You lost
Okay.
in the FA Cup final to Man
We
City.
lost 5-0 against
You had an
Newcastle on the
overrated
30.
season last
So
season.
what?
It was a decent season. It wasn't spectacular,
It
was
was
it?
better than Arsenal's.
No, not for me.
We won a trophy and we got Champions League football. It's the same thing.
It's comparable. But we talk about
Second,
Man United
third,
as an
same thing.
institution. I think back-to-back 4 finishes. Really.
No, but that's based on his prediction. I'm not saying we're going to finish
Fine.
fourth.
Yeah, but I think you will come 4th, and I think it will be
It's hope rather than
poor. You spent a
expectation
lot
for
of
me.
money.
It's hope rather than expectation.
But do you not
for me.
expect more?
Manchester? I know Manchester United are going to improve on last season.
Fine.
There we go. I trust in Ten Hag.
You could improve.
Like,
An
totally,
improved,
bro.
but an improved season would be quarterfinal of the European Cup, League Cup, and 4th. That would be good.
But I don't think that's enough.
We
in my
finished above
opinion.
4th.
I don't think that's enough.
We finished above 4. You know, last season we finished 3rd, but it was like really we finished 4th because we were never really 3rd,
Yeah.
and we just got it at the. Next season we probably finish 3rd, but it'll be because we're trying to get 2nd or
Yeah,
3rd.
yeah. Aiming high.
You know what I mean? It won't be because we're trying to get 4th and just bumble into 3rd because Newcastle messed it up.
It's going to be interesting.
So you've got United 4th.
I've got United.
Who you got in 3rd?
I've got Liverpool.
I've got Liverpool in 3rd as well.
Yeah, I've got Liverpool in 3rd as well. Yeah.
I think this may well be the first unanimous out of 17 teams that we've discussed.
It'll be the only one we all get wrong.
Yeah, Liverpool win league. Yeah, there isn't. Not one of us has got the position correct. Yeah. So Liverpool 3rd. I think that's exactly where Liverpool are. You know, in my opinion, they are clearly not as good as
This
the
is
two
on the
above them.
proviso, though, that they get that other midfielder. Look, I think Bajcetic is
even
a really
without
good
Eder.
talent, and I think Jurgen Klopp can kind of squeeze everything out of what he has there and kind of get better than
They got goals galore. They got goals galore. Goals for days or whatever you
Hakpo's
say.
first full season, Darwin
Goals for
Núñez
days,
second
man.
season.
Yeah, they'll score their way out of trouble. And then they've got a brilliant goalie in Van Dijk and Robertson and
And I think pound for pound, they've got the best manager.
And
They've got the best manager.
They've got a brilliant manager. And yeah, I just think they're the 3rd best. I think some positions there's debate to be had, like Chelsea, Villa, who's better? Newcastle, Chelsea, who's better? Villa, Newcastle, where? With Liverpool, I just think they're so much better than, in my opinion, they're so much better than Chelsea, Tottenham, Man United. But just there's so much distance.
I think a
between
little
them and
bit
the
of
top
that
two.
is
Klopp.
what they were, though.
Yeah,
as
maybe.
well. And Klopp.
Maybe.
I think
I
Klopp
just think
is
they're so
part of that.
clearly 3rd.
But they've lost a lot of experience in that dressing room. A lot of, you know, the people that will, when things are going wrong, all right, I'm going to grab the whole.
Yeah,
Even if they're on the bench, Milner's doing that.
Yeah.
Henderson's doing that. I think Firmino would have been a key figure in
Fabinho.
there. Fabinho would have been another key figure. Losing all of
The
those
midfield
is huge.
With that midfield, you know, if any of the players had left that midfield individually, you know, if I said to you, oh, Milner's gone to Brighton, you'd have gone, yes, sweet. If I said to you, oh, Keita's gone, you'd go, yeah, all good. Individually, you'd go, on every single one
fine.
was fine. You put them all together, 6 players. It's a demolition. 6 players.
But there's one manager that can manage that, and I think it's Jurgen Klopp. With the energy in that midfield, they're young. McAllister's
don't
manage it
desperate for that
above
move.
3rd.
But don't you think it's mad, yeah?
Manage it above 3rd. Manage the
Manage them
situation
back into the Champions League with all these
but
changes.
to 3rd, not beyond
third.
But don't you think this
But
is
I think
mad,
there's a
though?
chance they could
we
finish
all
higher.
say Klopp is going to get this Liverpool team to 3rd. Imagine they just backed him properly. Like,
That's not who they
backed
are.
him the way Arsenal have backed Arteta, backed him the way United have given money to Ten Hag, backed him the way, you know, Poch will be.
It's not what FSG are,
Make
though.
the hay while you've got this guy, bro.
Yeah.
Like, because football managers don't stick around for long. He's already been there longer than most will stay in a job. He's going to be off
Can I
soon,
ask you
2-3
something about
years.
that, right? Do you think, you know, I think that what we do sometimes as football fans is we always equate money with success, and it's easier to manage money. And I get it. I get why. But there is also a huge skill in the Mourinho, Guardiola, Ferguson ability of managing the
money.
biggest expensive. Yeah.
I don't think he necessarily needs the big,
Like Klopp's
expensive
ability
signings.
is turning Robertson into the best fullback in the world when he cost 7 million quid from Hull. Like, that's his ability, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pep Guardiola's ability is spending and buying the very best and polishing them to become something that we didn't even anticipate. Like, do you think throwing money? So
I don't necessarily think they need to spend 200 million.
No.
Yeah.
But they do need to buy players in certain positions.
They should. Do you know,
they need a centre back.
Or Bellingham. They should have done that, but they wouldn't have needed to do what, say, I don't think Klopp would want to have done what maybe Man United or Man City have done.
The fact that they've gone Bellingham's. Oh, no, but it is. Come on, they chuck big money at Van Dijk, at Alisson.
But I think all they would have wanted.
They should have done it on Bellingham.
Okay, Bellingham. All they would have wanted, like, it's not like he would have wanted to spend loads of money on loads of different players. He just would have wanted Bellingham.
But then they've spent 100 million on Szoboszlai and McAllister.
But that wouldn't.
You could have.
There would have been one of them. There would have been
Bellingham.
one of them. No, but they've got two players, haven't they? They've got two.
Yeah, but sometimes you go.
They've got two for the price of one and change.
I just think they need to back him. And when you look at the money that they've brought in, look, in a couple of weeks' time, you might look back and go, they have backed him. But they should have had Tchouaméni. You brought in 60 million for Fabinho and Henderson.
And they're sitting on it.
Bruv, they remind me of the Glazers with Fergie.
That's free money.
You know where
the Glazers light, aren't they?
Where Klopp kind of just protects them.
They don't take them
because he turns a team that should have finished 7th, 8th into 4th.
Mm-hmm.
Fergie was doing that for so many years with the Glazers, like 8 years. He protected that. I think he's doing the same. And I'm surprised Liverpool fans don't get onto them more.
The success.
Yeah, 100%.
So that was third.
On to second, I think Arsenal will come very close again. I think they'll lack the bottle, the experience to win the Premier League. I think they're coming up against one of the greatest sides to ever come out of this country in terms of the treble winners, the Champions League winners of last season. I think Arsenal will get a lot closer, though. I think Declan Rice, as much as I hate him playing for Arsenal as opposed to City, he's an unbelievable player. If he stays fit next season, he transforms that midfield. I really do believe it.
Is he transformative?
Yeah.
I think he is. I saw there was a moment. I know we talked about it, Community Shield, this, that, the other. He was tracking Bernardo Silva stride for stride, and he won the ball in a massive challenge against Bernardo Silva. I thought, wow,
the reason I asked that,
huge.
look, I think I would love Declan Rice at Man United. So this isn't a knock on him. I think he's an incredible player, and he will become a world class player. But the reason I say that is because his experience of success is the Conference League. With all due respect, is that success? You know, Is he the difference between this team finishing second and finishing first? Has he got the experience to be able to turn that team? Is he the guy to walk into that dressing room and go, right, we're not finishing second, we're finishing first? I don't know
he's not that.
if he is
That's
that guy.
not who he is.
Is he transformative enough?
He leads by example.
He's by performances. He doesn't demand... He's not going to go in there and be what Eric Cantona was when he walked into the dressing room at Man United off the back of winning it at Leeds. He's not that, but he is still a winner. He is still a player capable of winning silverware. And I think that, he is...
That's not
he's a signing of the winner.
Well, he's young as well, and we won't know about his dressing room antics until they release another terrible documentary on
Amazon. What do you think about the Havertz signing, Booth? Because me and him have had a lot of chats about it. What do you think?
Well, I think it's a waste of money, and I think it adds to the narrative that Arsenal spend their way out of trouble.
So where is this confidence for Arsenal coming from then?
Because if it's just Havertz that comes in and they don't make changes to the squad, then it's a difference. But Rice coming in and Timber, I think they're some of the signings of the summer. I think they're unbelievable signings for 130 million quid to get both of them. I think it transforms Arsenal. Their back line now. If they lose Saliba, it was Rob Holding last season. Now it's Timber. Ben White can now play centre half.
Moves across.
Yeah, exactly. And Tomiyasu comes back. I think he was a decent player. Zinchenko, Tierney's still there. I just don't think it's enough. I think if Jesus was a 30 goal a season striker, they had Alvarez, for example, as opposed to Jesus, it'd be a different narrative. But you need to score 30, 40 goals. You need a Salah kind of season, Kane season, Haaland season. They don't have that up front. That's the issue.
Second, I got United. I think we'll be better than last season. I don't think we'll challenge for the league. I don't think anyone will really this season. I see City just kind of storming away with it and everyone fighting out for just behind them. I think maybe it's out of hope rather than expectation. I think you will see a drop-off with Arsenal. I think last season for them was a perfect storm. They started off on fire. They kept going, and it just felt like something was building. And I think there will be a return to normality there. I still think they'll get top four, and I still think they'll have a very good season in that aspect. But I do think United will be better. Last season, we didn't have a striker, really. We didn't have a goalkeeper that fitted the style of play that Erik ten Hag wanted to play. And now with us looking likely to bring money in for Maguire and McTominay, we'll bring in Todibo maybe, we'll bring in another midfielder like Amrabat. And I just think then you'll see a squad that is closer to the one Erik ten Hag wants. He won't have to cut back on certain things that he wants tactically because his goalkeeper can't play out from the back. And I do think Onana will be one of the most...
Transformative.
I think he'll change the way we play so much. And I think from that, you'll then see United that are more on the front foot.
He's one of two things. He's either signing of the summer or flop of the year.
Yeah, done.
And I've got no idea which.
But you know what? What worries me about some players is, when you make a mistake at Old Trafford, and then it's like, God, suddenly I feel really small out here. He seems like another guy that will just sticks his chest out and goes, "Don't worry, I got this."
Yeah, 100%.
And now that maybe just me be looking through red tinted spectacles. But I do think he's got something about him.
What
where
I find interesting
okay.
is we've talked about all the clubs now in the Premier League, talked about Man United extensively. We've not talked about a £70 million striker that you've signed, more than Haaland.
62.
So, round it up, 70 odd, 75
I mean, if
million.
you round it, it's 60.
If you're rounding
60.
it,
Well, no, but I want to round up today.
but then we might round up to 80.
Well, it's more than
100 million signed.
It's more than Haaland. Agreed?
I mean,
No, it is.
you paid a lot in back
it's not.
with the Haaland
It's
deal.
not.
It was the Haaland deal's worth
Guys,
more.
do you know what a rhetorical
Haaland's
question
father
is?
made more out of
Do
that
you know what a
deal,
rhetorical question is? It was more on transfermarkt.com.
That's not a rhetorical question.
No.
It is, because I knew the answer. It's
that's
more
not
than
what rhetorical-
Haaland.
Yeah, you're wrong.
And you're here
Neither.
talking about Man United improving kind of slowly and how long, what sort of time frame? You signed Højlund. He's Haaland light. You spent loads of money on him. And why are we not talking about him scoring 30 goals next season? He has to for the money that you
No,
paid.
he doesn't have to score
Of course
30
he does.
goals next season. Of course he
So
does.
how many goals do you get next season?
15, 20 all comp?
Don't say 15. That's a prediction I made once. It doesn't go well.
No, we'll score 50. I'll be all right. Yes. I think that, even if Højlund comes in and doesn't score a goal, he's immediately better than Valvegos, bro. Like, you've got to remember what we were dealing with last season.
but this is
David
like
De
£20
Gea
million
chucking it in
signing.
his own net.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Martial
but you
made
made a point
out a
about
week of
Onana.
it.
It was a fair point you made.
And Rasmus Højlund, I think, even if he doesn't score goals, his movement, his pressing, everything immediately just makes us a better team.
Fine.
I also think what we'll see a lot this season is the implementation of Garnacho, if that's the right word. I think we'll see him play a lot more down the left. Rashford maybe move into the middle. I think we're also overlooking, and Rory will know a lot more about this than me, but I think Mason Mount will make a huge difference to this team as well. Yeah. Christian Eriksen's someone that is fantastic with the ball at his feet, but off the ball, pressing, his ability to win the ball back and all those kind of things. United are now a much more front foot team in that in midfield area. So I think we'll be better. You've also got, there's no headache with the Harry Maguire thing going to be happening because he's going to be gone. There's going to be none of the Cristiano Ronaldo thing looming over.
I think it's
us.
a lot happier. Don't get me wrong. I just think there's a massive strike.
I'm an optimist
signed,
as well.
And we're not really talking about him kind of, when Haaland signed, everyone said Man City going to win the league.
No, but he was a finished product, so that's why. Or he was at least
still young,
he was a proven product.
Also, you have to put these.
They've bought potential.
Mudryk was 90 million or 80 million or
They've
whatever it
bought
was.
potential. They haven't bought somebody. What they're meant to do with Højlund is buy Højlund for the future and buy Kane for now. That's what they're supposed to do. Højlund isn't the guy for today. He might be forced to be the guy for today.
Yeah.
But that's not the point of the signing.
I'm not saying it's a bad signing. I'm just saying for the money they've spent, including all the other players, why aren't we talking about them winning the league?
He's for
Why
tomorrow.
is it such
We'll
a
talk about it
slow
tomorrow.
progress?
It's Ten
Why don't
Hag's
think he'll win the league
second
next season?
You've also got to look at the fact that Ten Hag's come into a team that needed a lot of change. He's been key in making some big decisions. He's been brave enough to make them. He's made them. Now he's getting a lot more of his signings through the door. Players that are more within his profile. And I think you'll start to see a team this year that's more in his image. And I think we will get closer. Well, I don't think we're going to win the league, but we'll get a lot closer to we were. And I don't think it will ever be a case of, oh God, are we going to finish in the top 4 or top 5 or wherever it's going to be?
Yeah,
I think we'll be comfortable.
Do you win the league next season then?
I think,
hand on heart.
I think this next season is the season we have to challenge. We have to really challenge. Like, you know, we have to be there or thereabouts. Look, it's still going to be difficult. Anyone going up against Manchester City, but we have to challenge soon. And I genuinely believe Ten Hag's the guy to make us challenge again.
Yeah, 100%.
It's going to be slow improvement.
I can go for my first. I think Man City will win 4 in a row.
Is this the second position we're all going to agree on?
Who have you got second?
Second, Arsenal. But I skimmed Arsenal quickly, so unless you want to talk about Arsenal.
Well, I've got Man City second.
Oh,
wow. I thought we all agreed, lads.
No.
About our top 3 sort of thing.
We agree, but not in the order.
Okay,
I've got Manchester City second in the league. And
hope or expectation?
A genuine expectation. 4 has never been done, and it's never been done for a reason. history teaches us that 4 doesn't happen. I know they're making history. I know they're rewriting history. But I will always defer to the history books to tell us about the future. And 4, by your dazzling teams over the years, by Mourinho's back-to-back winners, by the Liverpool team of old, 4 hasn't happened. So I am inclined to believe that it won't happen this year. I also think there could be an element of the Dwight York effect. I think that could creep in.
Do you know what that's about, Booth? The Dwight York effect. For people at home as well that don't know, go and tell them.
The Dwight York effect is basically off the back of winning the treble. Dwight York didn't really know who he was anymore, and he didn't really know how to focus on football.
He turned up to Fergie's office, and he said, "Fergie, can I have the year off?"
But crucially, can you pay me in my entirety?
And that's when he got with Katie Price and all that.
No, Katie Price happened before that.
So he basically went, look, I've won a treble now. I can't motivate myself. Whatever we do next year.
In what world is that, Haaland? In what world?
No, I'm not talking about Haaland.
You're talking about in general sense of the squad.
It can be a subconscious thing sometimes. It may not be as blatant as Dwight York.
Even as fans, like I know that when you have. Particularly this European Cup, like forget the treble. The European Cup has been such a purpose for who Manchester City are as a club. They've had such a almost divine right for it, but it never went their way. That they have now achieved it. They've done it, and I think it's always very difficult to kind of go again. I'm not suggesting that they won't be able to, because maybe they will, and I certainly think they will compete for the league. I've got them finishing second, but I think City have got worse. I'm not impressed with the transfer window. I think you've let key players go. I think Arsenal have got better. Dwight York effect and 4 has never been done. Put those things all together and 2 and 2 makes a Christmas cake. Arsenal sadly are going to win the league.
I can't see a team buying Havertz and going on to win the league.
That's why I was so shocked at your... You know when I was really pushing at your 4th? That's why I was like, wow, me and you generally see football in a similar direction, but we're poles apart here. Because I've got Arsenal winning the league.
I have a little bit of me that just hates Arsenal, obviously. But, no, I genuinely, and maybe it's kind of a kickback to just all this hype that I'm hearing. Like, people going, they're going to win the league and that. Like, I've had it for a couple of days now. Everyone around me has just been saying they're going to win the league. I can't see it. I can't see it. All I can see is City winning the league again. And it may be a drop-off. It may not be as many points as last time. But I think there'll be a drop-off at Arsenal. Last season, they were fortunate. They played in one competition, really.
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean?
Look,
we talk about Newcastle dropping off because of Champions League football. Arsenal have got the same issue.
I think Arteta's shown as well, he doesn't like to rest players. He's going to burn Saka into the ground. He's going to burn all these players into the ground. Yeah. They've now got Champions League football.
They'll get Bayern in the group and they'll lose 10-2 like they did last time.
And teams are going to pick it up against them now.
Can I ask you, is there anything, you know the points that I've made about why I think Arsenal are going to win the league with regard to City, from a City perspective? I've said about the I've said about the Dwight York thing, I've said about 4 in a row, I've said about your transfer window being uninspiring and Arsenal improving. From your, and please employ some bias here, from your City perspective, are you at all fearful? Does anything I've said chime or resonate or scare you?
For me, no. And I do respect where you're coming from.
He's left
in terms of Kovacic and all that. I think Guardiola coming in secures the back line. We've got 4 or 5 amazing centre-halves, some of the best in the world. And actually, the composition of the league is something we don't talk about. I think it's one of the worst quality Premier Leagues we've ever seen. And that's with all due respect. Man United are fantastic. Arsenal fantastic. Liverpool fantastic. I think Chelsea, Spurs, you've got Forest, you've got Bournemouth, we've got Luton, Sheffield United.
He popped you with Forest.
Yeah, that was really weird. I didn't know what point he was making there.
The point I'm making is that I don't think this is Chelsea of old. This isn't Conte's Chelsea.
Chelsea, Luton.
And at the bottom of the table, all right, there was a comma there. But at the bottom of the table, you got 5, 6, 7 sides that shouldn't really be in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? Wolves are terrible. City only have to win the Premier League by beating all of them.
15th, by the way.
Yeah, but we'll beat them. We'll beat them home and away, and that's because of the quality in the squad. So actually, Arsenal have to try and beat us home and away to try and get 6 points against us. Apart from that, I think we'll win 15 in a row against these sides. Sheffield United have come up. Do you know what I mean? So there's some terrible sides. I think the Premier League is won by beating the sides around you like that, and I think we'll win it because of the quality in the squad.
I think City will win the league as well, and I don't need to go into any more detail on that because it's depressing.